I used to be a distance runner. So the first day I said, all right, they're telling me door knocking will make me money. I'm going to door knock 13 miles. So I put a Red Bull in both of my pockets, put my AirPods in, and just door knocked like crazy, set 8 appointments. First day in the industry, and just kind of got stuck in it from then, fell in love.
This is The Balance Breakdown, the show where restoration contractors come together to learn how to sell more, build faster, and scale confidently. Now let's break it down. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Balance Breakdown. My name's Adam, I'm your host. I like to start every episode with an update of what's going on in the industry. Storms are happening earlier this year than they have in many years past. I was at RoofCon last month, and it stormed across the Midwest the second night that we were there, and most of what everyone could talk about the day after. This is the time to really focus on your systems and processes. That means a clean CRM, scalable sales process, and a consistent way that you're photo documenting the losses. These are the things you usually keep in your head until it hits the fan and you can't get it out in a clean way for when you're hiring new sales reps. Get those out on paper so you can plug in new reps when the storm season happens. To talk more about prepping for the season and how to scale during the midst of the season, we have Lincoln Munger from Aboveboard Roofing. He's an innovation-focused contractor from Louisville, Kentucky. But first, our top 10.
All right, guys, Mike here with Balance Claims for another top 10, and these top 10s I have not seen yet, so here we go. Top 10 reasons your claims get denied. Number 10, the policy specifically excludes acts of God and acts of poor installation by chucking a truck. And number 9, you calculated squares by doing length times width times, whatever it takes to keep my GAF certification. I like that one. And number 8, the homeowner went full Karen on the adjuster. I'll tell you what, it's best let him answer the door, but let him know, hey, I'm the expert. I'm here in your corner. I got to this adjuster meeting. And number 7, you tried to claim a 20-year-old 3-tab shingle as a historic architectural feature. Number 6, you sent photos of the wrong house and said these pop-up homes are all the same in the neighborhood. That is one way I've seen it done. People trying to say, well, I got the neighbors taken care of, but guess what? That policy does not cover the neighbor's house. You got to make sure you're supplying the right photos. Number 5, line items say needed for code, but you didn't give them the code. If you're saying code items, put the code numbers on there. Give them the appropriate F9 notes if you're building it out in Xactimate. Number 4, you assumed overhead and profit was automatic with 3 trades. It is not automatic, and it's not always with 3 trades. You're going to hear about everything when it comes to overhead and profit. If it's complex enough, if you're going inside the house, it's not just 3 trades these days. Number 3, the pricing is market rate for a market 100 miles away from you. I've seen this too. It is not a fair way to do things. At the end of the day, supply the pricing you get from your suppliers. Number 2, you weren't nice enough. I can't imagine any roofers not being nice enough out there. Come on, guys, show up with a smile. It's not a negotiation. It's a conversation about the appropriate scope of work. And number 1, inflation is not a line item in Xactimate. It's not a line item in Xactimate.
Hey everybody, welcome back. I got Lincoln Munger here from Aboveboard Roofing. Thanks for hanging out, man.
Yeah, glad to come up.
Yeah, same. Well, we've known each other for a year and a half-ish, something like that. I like to start everybody with how'd you get into what you do and what was the catalyst to starting your own business?
Yeah, it was a crazy ride into roofing. I was in between stuff in life and work, and a close friend from my CrossFit gym was like, hey man, you need to come sell some roofs. I think you'd be really good at this. And I had some sales background. I'd sold furniture. And so I really trusted him. So I showed up for an interview. Actually, they did a phone interview first. And they're like, yeah, you can make this much money if you knock this many hours and you can get overrides and build it, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, that's a pyramid scheme. I'm out. So I actually told them no. First time, showed up for another interview. They pitched me again. It was very similar. I'm like, this is a pyramid scheme, but I'm going to say yes because I trust my boy that was inviting me. So I don't like to halfway do things. So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it well. Got in the first 2 weeks. I was a psychopath, bugged everybody, asked a lot of questions. The first day, I used to be a distance runner. So the first day I said, all right, they're telling me door knocking will make me money. I'm going to door knock 13 miles. So I put a Red Bull in both of my pockets, put my AirPods in, and just door knocked like crazy, set 8 appointments. First day in the industry, and just kind of got stuck in it from then, fell in love. Yeah.
How long did you work for them before you started Above Board?
Yeah, so I worked for them for a year, and then there was some writing on the wall that maybe that wasn't the best company to work for, so I left. That writing turned out to be true. They went out of business about 3 months later. Worked for another roofing company. They were great. They were awesome. I won't name them, but you'll never hear me say a bad thing about them. They taught me a lot. I was still very much learning and asking a lot of questions because there wasn't much of a sales training when I got there, but I was figuring it out. And honestly, my only big rub with them was they didn't have anything to do with supplements.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was writing my own supplements. I had to learn how to write my own supplements. I'm trying to be a rock star salesman and supplement at the same time, and those two started to conflict.
Yeah.
I ended up leaving.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it like teaching yourself supplementing?
Whew. You know what I would do is I would take like 3 or 4 different estimates from other roofers or from insurance adjusters, right? And I would compare them, make a master list, and I would look at the measurement report and the pictures I had on mine. I'm like, all right, which one would apply? And it's easy to figure out the quantities.
Yeah.
What's hard is remembering like, oh, that split boot. Like if you don't have a split boot list in front of you, and you're not going to remember it until you see a picture of a split boot.
Yeah.
I kind of trained myself that way, and they were terrible supplements, But I was getting some money, I was getting progress, and then I would go in all the Facebook groups. I like to say that was my first sales manager was Elena Wilson, John Cenac, Chris Zimmerman, Matthew Mohammed. They were amazing to me. And I would find exactments in the files of those Facebook groups. And I would go through theirs, and they would have supporting documents, and I would just kind of figure out if it applied to my situation, and we just continued to improve.
So what, from supplementing then to now, what do you do different?
Oh man. Well, I don't do much supplements anymore myself. I'll do a project every now and then if it's just seems like it kind of scratches my itch. Like I really want to work on this one. Like I'm doing a geodesic right now, so 78 slopes for 23 squares with 14 custom skylights. I'm writing that supplement myself.
Yes,
that sounds so fun. Which probably people watching are like, why in the world would you write that? But that's a fun one. I did one for a historical committee to where the insurance agency had to comply with the historical committee's guidelines.
We've done some of those too.
So I knew that would take a lot of finesse and be really profitable. The customer was really easy to work with, so I was like, I want to handle this one front to back. I want to sell it. I want to build it. I want to do everything else. So I did that one myself. Well, we got macros. That's the biggest change.
The secret.
Yeah, that's the secret sauce. Get your macros. I took an exactament class when I first started Above Board with Stephen Harmon. He is amazing.
Yeah. Shout out to Steven.
Dude.
Recommend a lot of people.
Thank you so much. Go find him if you want to learn how to do exactament.
yeah.
I'm an in-person guy. He offers in-person classes. Drove to Dallas, slept in my car to get there. I hit up a roofer, and I was like, hey, man, can I sleep on your couch? And he was like, yeah, sure. He was also a competitive arm wrestler. And that's my guilty pleasure. So we had a lot in common. I was like, I bet I can convince this guy to say yes. Slept on his couch, took a 3-day course with Harmon. Next thing you know, we got macros. So
all right. The
macros have evolved. I also have like a final check that I use. It's just a single exactment with every single line that I've ever seen. And so I'll just go back and forth with it briefly at the end, make sure I didn't miss anything funny. It's always those cornices. I always forget the cornice.
And the strips. Yeah.
Yep.
So you've been a Bounce client. I've been in your CRM. It's pretty clean. Let's talk more about what people. It's cleaner.
You sure you're
it's
in
cleaner.
Yeah.
It's cleaner. So let's talk about who do you use, how do you use it, what have you liked, what have you tried?
Yeah. So first company I was with was Job Nimbus. Second one, they had built their own. When I started, I said I want the best, because I'm planning to grow here. And it was just me, and then about a couple months in, it was me and my best friend. And I want this thing to be big. So let's set the groundwork really well. So just from the little bit that I knew, I was between Job Nimbus and AccuLinks. I ended up going with AccuLinks just because people on Facebook said it was a little better, honestly. So started with AccuLinks, didn't know how to build a CRM. That is a skill set.
Yes,
building a CRM, like anybody can use a CRM. You just log in and, it's like if you've worked any retail job ever, then you can use a CRM. Building a CRM, that's a business owner. That's an investor level skill. And that is probably a much more profitable skill than being able to sell roofs, supplement claims, or, it may be even a law degree. Like that is a skill that can make you some money. We used AccuLinks from the get-go. One of the first moves I did was I plugged in GAF Quick Measure so I could pull reports, and I plugged in balance claims so I didn't have to write my own supplements. I think I did those in the first 2 months of maybe even before the name Aboveboard was spoken.
Oh, okay.
So I did that pretty early. From there, we are actually in the process of transitioning to Leap. About halfway through the process, I realized it's not about what CRM you use, it's about how you use it and how you build it out. And it's not that I'm regretting changing, because there's some things I don't love about AccuLinks, and I think Leap will solve that. But my goal with Leap is build it to its fullest capacity. I think that's why a lot of people like Service Titan, is because you can build it out so complex. And a lot of my mentors are going to Service Titan and advising that. But I think Lance Bachman was talking about it at RoofCon just last week, and he was like, it's not about the CRM, it's about how you use it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And almost what processes do you use that you're not using the CRM, and how can you avoid those?
Yeah, we're balances in. I mean, that's part of our process is we're in your guys' CRM, so we see all of them, and we see people who use AccuLinks really poorly. We see people who use AccuLinks really well. We see people that Service Titan is definitely for contractors. That is definitely for contractors, and so is Leap. Big fan of Leap. But yeah, that's one. I've seen them all be used poorly and all be used really well. Automations inside of CRM is a big piece too.
Huge.
A big piece.
You're not doing more than 10 million without automation. And even at 10 million, like a rock star is going to stress himself bald to do 10 million without systems and processes.
Yeah, so Gen 1 above board, where are you at? 2.0, 3.0?
I mean, I feel like my company announcements feed is crazy. If you search my texts with my guys, the company announcement tag word, there's like 3 or 4 massive shifts a week.
All right.
Just because we're learning too much too quick. We've had so much, what's it called, stupid text, where we try something wrong and, do it right, but figure it out in the end. Yeah, we're at least, I'd say 3.0. We got a little mini season this year where it kind of felt like 2 different, games, where we had storm season and then retail season.
Okay.
In Louisville.
What's how did you go differently about those two?
Yeah, storm season was easy because it was like early in March 14th, 7 p.m. We had almost 2-inch hail, right? So that was undeniable. We know what to do. Go out and knock. I'm kicking hail out of homeowners' doorways so that they can open their door to answer me when I'm knocking. I'm wearing a poncho.
About a pitch.
Yeah. I'm carrying hail to the door, taking pictures of their car because they've been too scared to go outside still. So that was beautiful. We knew what to do. Phone was blowing up. We hired a CSR to deal with the extra influx, got a new company number, offloaded some stuff off of me so I could push the sales guys. Fast forward a month or two, we hired a sales manager because we didn't have that yet. Fast forward another month or two, we got a production manager, marketing team, and as the storm leads started to drop off, we had all this infrastructure to sustain, all this new overhead that the storm had built for us. So we looked at marketing agencies, and we picked our favorite, and we started Google and Meta campaigns, and then we're like, well, now we got to figure out how to sell roofs for cash, right? And so we got a finance company. We partnered with Improvify. We rehearsed, and we dialed in our what was basically just, a chuck in a truck custom roofing sales pitch to good, better, best. This is the bare bones, above board, above and beyond, above all. I took some time in Florida last year before RoofCon because my uncle's roof blew off with Hurricane Milton, whatever the big one was in late September, I think. Anyways, State Farm was going to take advantage of my baby uncle. He's younger than me, so I'm not going to let that happen. So I'm like, I'm driving to Florida, and I'm going to win his claim. I don't care if I get to build it. On the way down there, I met a contractor to build it, and I fought his claim. And I learned a lot about Florida roofing, right? So Florida price per square is really high. I'm like asking questions about material costs and why is it so high? What are the codes? So I learned a lot. Like, for example, you have to tar the perimeter to comply with,
tape to seams.
Yeah. So I took that back to Louisville, and I'm like, hey, we get tornadoes. That's just as bad as a hurricane. Some people want added protection. That's what we're putting in our best package. So instead of just, offering the best shingle and then upgrading to designer or standing seam, we're actually building value. And there's a reason that we can charge a higher price.
Yeah. Because
we're doing class 4, valley metal, solar vents, seam tape, tar down eaves and rakes, double layer hip and ridge, extended warranties through Tamco, who we partner with. So it's more verifiable value than what a lot of our competitors are doing, just trying to sell roofs as high as they can.
Tangible components. Yeah, very cool. So what's the tattoos. I want to get into the tattoos. I'm excited.
Yeah, so these are fun. This one was my first. I don't know where to point this, but this big freckle here was my first one. And I started with a freckle. This is actually my first tattoo ever because I was scared of the tattoo. You know, it's weird getting the first one. You know, you got to break the ice. I'd followed John Cenac for about 2 years at that point, and I'd learned how to identify shingles. And I'd kind of been a nerd about it because it made me money. You know, elk is this long and wide, and it looks like this. Owens Corning Pro 30 is like this. And the common denominator was 5 5/8 inches. So 5 5/8 inches in Louisville, you can identify 99% of shingles based on that. They're either going to be longer, spot on, a little bit shy if they're 5.6, or they're going to be way shy if they're 5 inches. So with that tattoo, I could afford to lose my measuring tape because I'm a salesman. I can't keep up with anything. So I can get on the roof, you know, lay it out on a shingle, see where it lines up, and I can tell exactly what brand it is. It's funny, once you get that tattoo, you can remember stuff a lot better and you no longer need the tattoo, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's a selling point. I did a fun unveiling about it when I was in a networking group. They thought it was a big hand tattoo. I wore a glove for like 2 weeks and then took it off and showed them the picture. So that one worked out really well for me. The first week I had that one, I was on a 90 square English cut discontinued shingle with hail damage on it with a State Farm adjuster. And I'm like, hey man, this shingle's, just letting you know, the shingle's discontinued. This is going to have to be a full roof replacement. Usually I don't say that straight up, but he was working with me good. And he's like, how do you know? You have an ITEL? You have an RLS? I was like, no, I got a tattoo on my hand. And he bought the roof on site.
All right.
So it made me like $45K off that job in the first week. So I'm like, great idea. I'm going to do this again. So I'm looking through what can I get? It's kind of my thing now. So I always forget to measure my pipe boots. My production guys will get on to me. So we got 2-inch pipe, 4-inch pipe. There's a little freckle built into that there. That's my 3-inch pipe, and then 5-inch pipe. 5-inch also works for English cuts, but you know, you can tell an English cut. So I got my pipes. So now I can just take my, you know, if I got a pipe, I can lay it on there. So this is 3-inch, right at 3-inch. So super handy.
Yeah.
I mandate all my guys to take measuring tapes to their pipes. Especially
I thought you were going to say you mandate they get tattoos.
No. We do offer free tattoos in our sales meetings, though, if they want to get hand tattoos.
Okay.
So that was the next phase. And then we started doing a lot of redecks. You know, I went up and did the repairability test with Mohammed and Building Experts Institute up in Columbus. And they had these fancy little gauges they gave us that would gauge felt, they'd gauge some metal stuff. But the gold on that thing, and every roofer should buy one of these. I hand them out to people for free. It's a little 1/4-inch tab on the corner, and it's for 1x8 spacing, right? If it's bigger than a 1/4 inch, not only is it not nailable, but it's the safety concern. You're going to be shooting nails into somebody's house. So that's what this one is, 1/4-inch dash.
Okay.
So
cool.
when I measure,
I tell people carry a carpenter's pencil, but you get a pinky. Yeah.
I just can't leave my pinky at home, and I'm good. And then this one obviously is the hail gauge.
Yeah.
That one was I debated that one for a while because that's pretty committed. You know, that's getting pretty ugly. Unless you see the beauty in it as a roofer, but it's also a great conversation starter.
Yeah.
So I was at the bank this week, and the guy's like, "Man, I like your hand tattoo. What is that? Is that rainbow?" I was like, "Actually." And I scheduled a roof inspection out of it. So I got 1/2 inch is the small one, 1 inch is the middle, 1 1/2 inch for the big one. Yeah.
I keep the NTS.
Yes.
NTS card.
Yes.
Wallet. Let's go.
That's awesome. See on the left.
Oh, it's on this side.
Yep.
All right.
So this one doesn't have a 1/2 inch, but
look at that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, isn't that gorgeous?
That's awesome.
And then there's our 1/4 inch.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look at that. Thanks, John, for my card. I've been carrying this for 3 years.
I hope they see that.
Yeah,
Chris Zimmerman always cracks up.
Yeah.
He's like, "What you got new?" You know, let's see the new hand inspecting me.
All right.
But we're getting like 30% redecks with that thing. We have a lot of 1x8s in Louisville. You know, on a 1x8, they're never spaced right. They shrink or whatever. I don't know if the guys that install them are blind, but they're always in need of a redeck.
Yeah.
I got a friend that is a roofer local, and he's like, "Dude, there's so many redecks in Louisville. Like, it's probably more than 30%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, of all roofs. Yeah. It's just got to ask for it.
Is what it is.
Super easy to show. You know, it either fits or it doesn't.
Yeah.
So
Nice. One of the coolest. So this is when we went out to dinner at RoofCon 2 RoofCons ago. You were talking about putting a fake speed bump outside of your job sites. I have loved that. And that's one of those, when I introduced you, I was like, this guy's an innovator, because you just think outside the box. And there's supplements we've talked about where I'm like, that's a good idea. So what's your, in the off season, you said you dork out about this kind of stuff. So what's your, I'm going to go learn about this. What's your innovation for the off season?
In the winter?
Yeah, in the winter time.
And we really thrived at this last winter. It hasn't really been cold enough this winter, but I call it the Canadian install. So we're going into our first winter as a roofing company last year, and I'm nervous. How do we keep cash flow? How do we make sure we have something to do? And so I called my friend John Theron. Look him up on YouTube, Instagram. He's like #1 arm wrestler in Canada, and he's a roofer. Something about roofers and arm wrestlers, right? And arm wrestlers are super cool dudes. You can message them. They're always chill. John Theron, and he lays shingles. Like, this boy, he whoops it up there. And I don't know where he's at, Edmonton or something, where it's real cold. Not like fake Canada, Toronto. Like, he's in the woods. And so I was like, hey, John, what do you do in the winter? Because I'm sure you're trying work. What happens if a tree hits a house in the middle of winter and you got to make these people waterproof again? And so he's like, you just shovel the snow off, heat up the shingles, and lay it down. And sometimes you can put a heater in the attic. You got to be careful, but sometimes you put a heater in the attic and you can get nice warm substrate. The shingle manufacturers, when they're talking about temperatures, they only care really what temperature the shingles are. Like, it doesn't matter so much what the air is. Shingles are made out of asphalt. They hold heat super well. They're like a brick, basically, especially in a pallet. They can hold heat. So we took that, and I was like, all right, I'm going to work all winter. I'm going to try it. And so Gen 1 was we would just lean some OSB up against the bundles, throw a tarp or something over it, and then throw a butane or propane torch under there and let it cook. If you can start it the night before, you'll show up the next day, it'll be like 110 degrees. Throw a thermometer or something in there. I mean, it'll melt the snow in like a huge circle. Super impressive looking. And then you just shovel the snow right off the roof. And if you can, I would recommend put a fire watch on it, but you can put a heater in the attic. But somebody might have to hang out with it. Make sure you don't burn it down. But we did one roof. I remember it was probably 20 degrees. We installed Tamco Titan, which is rated down to 25. I had an internal practice of we wouldn't do less than 40 just to be safe, unless we did it Canadian install. So this one we shoveled 8 inches of snow off. I remember my guys, they'd have 3 crew members with a sheet of OSB shoveling it and just creating these huge mounds of snow coming off the roof. And then we threw the heater in there, and we cooked it, and we laid shingles, and it was beautiful.
All right.
I was standing on the roof, and the holes where the turtle vents were, we were plugging them to go to ridge vent, and there's like beams of heat coming out like on a road in Florida. And so it was super comfortable.
Yeah.
Up until about the belly button, you were 60, 70 degrees.
Cool. What'd the homeowners think?
They loved it.
They loved it?
Yeah, that particular guy, it was a property manager, and he'd had some like really bad, like the tenant was getting leaks, and he needed it resolved, and it was something that couldn't really be temporarily repaired well, and it would have cost him a lot more money, so we just went ahead and put the roof on.
Very cool.
Super fun.
That's very fun.
Yeah, I think Gen 2 will be the dump trailer. We'll turn it into like an iron heater box and keep it at our office. That way we don't have to use like propane or whatever torches. So when we show up, that thing's just a furnace.
Cool.
A couple bricks of shingles in there.
All right. So going back into the storm season, storms are happening now. It's early for the year, but it's happening. So you hired people.
Yep.
You scaled to hire people.
Yep.
What does it look like training the new guys for your system to get prepped for storms?
So Business 411 has been huge. We want to maintain what we've learned in Q3 and Q4 last year with retail as we go through the storm. We also want to maintain what we've done with our upgrades. So we're going to stick with our bread and butter, which is I got into the industry with the attitude of I can get anything approved. I can help on the insurance claim. That's why people call me. We're going to work a lot of claims, especially probably until June. But we're going to really explain to homeowners all their options instead of just saying, hey, here's the roof. What color you want? Cool. We'll see you Friday. We're going to take it, slow it down, educate them, present them, identify the supplements, if there's a redeck or different options that they have for dead valleys and chimney crickets and whatnot. But on the same side, we're still going to run our marketing campaign. We're still going to be doing retail jobs. ACV policies are getting more and more common, especially with the farm bureaus in my region. And so we're going to be closing those deals cash as well. So my sales reps will be, they're multi-trained. 411 gives you the bread and butter, but it's beautiful because it's built to where you can add your own flair to it. So for example, we have a really good grant from the city from the Office of Sustainability. If you put a white shingle on, you get $2,000 if you're in the county. And we hand those things out left and right because people love Glacier White. They look really nice. We got really good drone pictures. They can see exactly what it's going to look like. And so we probably do 4 or 5 of those a week of that Glacier White.
All right.
Yeah. And then I could take that class of how to do the application, build it into 4-in-1. So my guy's coming out of training armed with a $2,000 rebate. When he's going up against the other roofer, who probably will know more than them, he's going to be like, yeah, but my roof is not only 160 mile an hour wind rated, 1 3/4 inch hail rated, we're going to handle all your supplements, and you're going to get $2,000 from the city, and your insurance premium is going to go down. It's like, that's a pretty good pitch.
Yeah, that's a very good pitch.
Yeah.
You've given me a lot, man, and I feel like you've given everyone on the breakdown a lot. What's the something you really want people to know? If you're giving advice to other business owners, new contractors starting out, what's the thing they want to take away from you?
The biggest thing that I've learned in my very small career as being a business owner, I would say take the contracts, and that's a thing that you want to measure twice and cut once. There's so many resources out there. Business lawyer won't charge you an arm and a leg to build you a good contract. There's so many things you're not thinking about. There's probably 4 roofers you could call to your house, and they'll give you a estimate, and you can just read their contracts. There's so many resources. ChatGPT is pretty good, and that's something you want to have down. Not because you want to take advantage of anybody or anything, but things that are left in the gray, generally, as a good contractor, you're going to want to take care of. But if it's not gray, if it's black and white, and it's not something that you're responsible for, then people understand on the front end that that's not something they should expect of you. So that's huge.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, man, thank you for being on this, dude.
Yeah,
it is a
it's
good
fun.
time being. Yeah. Lincoln Munger, everybody. We'll be back. Make sure like and subscribe. Any kind of information you want to hear on the next one, just put it in the comments below. See you then. The Balance Breakdown is presented by Balance Claims. This is a Savage Media production.